everyone. So we are going to look at how changes in the demand or supply, not due to price, how the changes in demand and supply will affect the price. So this we call it as determination of price. So determination of price. Why I'm writing determination of price, you will understand. Let's say in the concept of equilibrium, we have seen that first price is changing. All right. Price is changing. In this case, price is changing, and after, due to change in price, there is a change in quantity demanded and supplied. But what if the price is not changing at first, but rather there is increase or decrease in demand, leading to rightward or leftward shift in the demand or the supply curve? Then what will happen? What implication will it have upon the price and the quantity? Then when I'm saying upon the price and the quantity, then why I'm writing price? Because determination of quantity is easy. Because as we'll see that whether the demand curve shifts to the right or the supply curve shifts to the right, either of them or both shift to the right. In all these three cases, quantity will always increase. But the effect on price will be not the same. Say for example, if they give you a question like there is increase in demand whereas supply is remaining constant, then what implication will it have upon the price and the quantity? Now they will not ask you in a direct manner like this. They say for example, good hot weather condition increases the demand for strawberry, holding all other factors constant. It means all other factors are assumed to remain constant, means supply is constant. They are not telling you directly that the supply is constant. They are saying all other factors is assumed to remain constant. The hot weather condition is increasing the demand for strawberry. What implication will it have upon the quantity and the price? Meaning they'll give you four options. Price increases, quantity demanded decreases, or price and quantity demand and the price and quantity both increase, or price decreases, quantity increases, or both price and quantity decreases. There are n number of situations that they can ask you. If you try to cram it and by heart it, you are gone. So we will apply a simple, very easy logic, and you will be able to get these three mark easily from your paper. So let's see. Under the concept of equilibrium, we know that the equilibrium is determined where demand and supply curve they intersect. On the y axis there is price, on the x axis there is quantity, and this is our equilibrium price, and this is the equilibrium quantity demanded and supplied. Now in the question what they have mentioned, that demand is increasing and supply remains constant. So it means what we have learnt in our previous topics, whether it is increase in demand, not quantity demanded by the way, because factors other than price, whether it is increase in demand or increase in supply, in both cases there is a rightward shift in the demand and the supply curve. But in this case only demand is increasing, so I will shift the demand curve towards the right hand side, correct? So if I move the demand curve, this is my right hand side. If I move the demand curve towards the right hand side, this is your new demand curve DD1. Now what you have to do is figure out when the demand curve is shifting, left or right doesn't matter. They've said increase, though I've shifted right. When the demand curve is shifted, where does the new demand curve hit or intersect with the old supply curve? And if supply curve is moving, find out where does the new supply curve after shifting hits the old demand curve. Wherever the hit happens over here, intersection happens over here, we will drop down a line here that will give us the quantity and we'll take this line along the y-axis. That will give us price, and we got our answer. Here price is increasing and quantity is increasing. We'll choose the option which says both price and quantity are increasing. Both price and quantity are increasing. So logically, if I reverse this thing, if I say demand is decreasing and supply is remaining constant, then of course the price will decrease and quantity will also decrease. So let's take a look. Of course, you see, now let me change this. Now I am going to move the demand curve where to the left, because demand is decreasing. So when I move this demand curve to the left, you see it hit the supply curve over here, and what happens? Quantity is decreasing and price is also decreasing. If I invert this situation, if I change this situation into like this, demand is remaining constant now and supply is increasing. What effect will it have upon price and what effect will it have upon quantity? So price and quantity. So supply curve, demand curve, equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity. So when supply is increasing, then what will happen? Supply curve will shift to the right. So when I move the supply curve toward the right, where does it hit the old demand curve? At this point. So what do I find? That quantity is increasing and price is decreasing. So we'll choose the option which says quantity increases, price decreases. So if I reverse this situation and say again demand remains constant and supply decreases, then of course you'll get a situation where, yes, where price is increasing and quantity is decreasing. So let's take a look here. If I change this simply to increase in supply, so sorry, decrease in supply, so supply decreases, so it means now supply curve will shift to the left. So if I shift the supply curve to the left, what happens? Quantity is decreasing but price is increasing. So quantity is decreasing, price and decrease is increasing. But the problem comes when they mention there is increase in demand and increase in supply, then what implication will it have upon price and quantity? So here I have missed out one thing. Let's say, for example, let's take an example here. If suppose you can have three outcomes with regard to this. How? Let's say if I have price over here and quantity over here. So this is your demand curve and this is the supply curve. This is the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Now both demand and supply curve increases, but they have not mentioned whether the demand increases more than supply increases more than demand, or they both increase by the same margin. Because in three different outcomes, the price in three different situations, the outcome will be completely different. For example, let's assume the question says that increase in demand is equal to increase in supply. So in this case, you will find that price is remaining constant, whereas quantity is increasing. Remember, I've told you why I have not written determination of quantity, I am written determination of price. Because whether demand increases, supply doesn't, supply increases, demand doesn't, or they both increases, quantity will always increase. But price, you cannot say. So let's say in this case, demand increases by the same margin as the increase in supply. So let's say increase the demand by 10%. All right. So demand is shifting toward the right, demand is increasing by 10%. And if I increase the supply by also the same margin, that is 10%, you see the gap over here between the two demand curve and the gap over here between the two supply curve I've kept constant. It means demand is increasing by the same margin as the increase in supply. So what do you find here? You see price remains constant but quantity is increasing. What if I change the scenario to this? What if demand increases more than supply? What if price is here and quantity is here? This is the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Now let's increase demand by 20% and supply by relatively lesser than 20%. So it means I'll move the demand curve, let's say by this margin. Let me use another color. Move the demand curve by this margin. So this is your new demand curve, and move the supply curve by a relatively smaller margin. Now you see here, what is the gap here between the two demand curves? And what is the gap here between the two supply curve? Don't you think that supply is increasing in lesser proportion than increase in demand? So when I drop down a line over here, what happens? Quantity is again increasing and price is also increasing. So it means we can say that in the second situation, that is sixth one, if demand is increasing and increase in demand is in greater proportion than increase in supply, then price will also increase and quantity will also increase. And in the third case also quantity will increase only, but you will find that the price is decreasing. So seventh one, if I write that demand is increasing but increase in demand is lesser than increase in supply, or increase in supply is more than increase in demand, then in this case you will find that price is decreasing and quantity is increasing. So you see quantity is increasing all the cases but not the price. So let's say increase in supply more than increase in demand. What will happen? Let's see. So again we have a price and we have a quantity over here. So supply curve, demand curve, equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Now we'll increase supply, let's say by 20%, new supply curve, and increase demand in lesser percentage compared to supply. So what happens? Again you'll find quantity is increasing but price you'll see has fallen down. All right. So in this case quantity is again increasing but price is falling down. So if I write the three more conditions here, let's say eighth situation, demand is decreasing and decrease in demand is equals to decrease in supply. What will happen? Demand decreases but supply decreases more than decrease in demand, then what will happen? And 10th, demand decreases and decrease in demand is greater than decrease in supply, then what will happen? This is food for thought. You apply the same logic and you will get the answer. I hope that helps. See you again next topic on another video. Bye bye.